Yeehaw, mother truckers! It's Sunday, which means portfolio update, and it also means that this thing has gone up 352%. So as it stands, guys, this thing is 50 pence more expensive than the Articuno from Journey Together. What do you think of that? So back into Surgeon Sparks he goes, and that's where he stays until he's 100. So portfolio. It's been a bit hit and miss when I've been trying to track the S&P 500 with this, because I can't track it properly because there's so many cards. They move up, they move down, and by the time you get an average of what you've made, it's dropped out at the bottom, and you have to recalibrate it. Where with the S&P, it's just if it goes up, bang, that's it. It's auto populated, and you just know what the price of the S&P is, and you know exactly how much you've got. Where these cards are so subjective. You have things like that guy who made this Bobble Mew and the Clobberpuss and the Solosis Bogey thing, Ozgem or Guzmen or something, whatever his name is. And then everybody jumps on this bandwagon, and like that Solosis, I saw it in the card shop. I'm sure it was like £5 like a few weeks ago, and now it's like, what, 45 quid? You know, I keep banging on about cards being more than the Articuno from Journey Together, but just look at that bogey in the middle of a field with two eyes on it, and then you've got this glorious Articuno flying over ice, and there's all these lights and shiny snowflakes, and it just boggles my mind. So portfolio update, like I said, it's been getting a bit confusing, so I've slimmed it down a bit. I've made it a bit easier, although there's some crazy math coming up, but I'm only doing that once per year, where I'm taking the whole of my portfolio and I'm putting in the S&P just to see what I would have got over a certain period of time. But I'm only doing that once a year. Gets a bit confusing. So let's have a look.
So let's jump into this. My portfolio on Collector is currently standing at £11,537. Now, when we compare this to the S&P, that is, there it is, £95.80. So I think that's £2 or £3 up from the other day. So as you can see what I've done here, we've got the dates. It's been about 15 days. So total spent 2 weeks ago was 200 quid. On the Collector app, we were 9,700 and the S&P was at 92. And then this week, total spent 310 because I brought Lily's Clefairy and things like that. So basically, which one won? The S&P 500 or TCGs? Well, I think TCGs, but when we get into the math at the end of it, you'll be surprised at what actually won. So worst performing assets was Star Wars, then One Piece Lorcana, and the winner overall was Pokemon. And can you guess why Pokemon was the winner overall? Have you seen that Solosis? Have you seen Bobble Mew? Well, this is the same guy, the same illustrator, and it's up 352%. Now, obviously, I'm not doing the Bubble Mew because I haven't got that, but I have got 2 copies of this Clobberpuss. So card of the week goes to Clobberpuss. Last week it was the Magikarp. It's just because it's the same guy, and you know, folk like this guy. They like his artwork. They like the Bobble Mew, and up it goes. But also things go down. The Boa Hancock, I've got 2 of these from One Piece, and you can see there she's down £3.50, so that's like £7 loss on the Clobberpuss. Is, what did I make on that? About 14 quid. So that eats into the profits at the top end. So it's so hard to get an actual reading of every single, like all 3,000 some of the cards. But thankfully, this is not accurate because prices keep changing all the time, and this only updates a few times a day. But at the minute, we are standing at about £20 in profit. But what if we had it all in the S&P 500, all the £11,000 divided by the price of the S&P 500? I'd have 120 shares of the S&P 500. So with that profit of £3.30 for the last 15 days, I'd have been up nearly £400. But like we said at the start of all this, this is just fun. I have got some exposure in the S&P 500, and I think that's up about £50. So that'll give you an idea of the amount of stock I've got in the S&P 500. But at the minute, we're sitting at 11,537. So obviously, every week, I'm not going to compare my whole portfolio to the S&P 500, but I thought it was interesting to see how much gains I would have actually got if I put every single penny into the S&P 500. But you've got to diversify. I'm pretty well diversified, and this is a bit of fun. Like I've always said, I've got my other things sorted. So every week we'll just do this sort of thing: how much I've spent, the total collector app value, and we can kind of track what the S&P is doing, so we can get a bit of a idea in our minds. Like that's gone up what, £3.30 in the past 15 days there, from the 20th of September. And my overall portfolio is up £20. So really, I'm about £5 or £6 up on the market overall.
So basically, overall, if I just sold all my cards and got that 11 grand out, you wouldn't get 11 grand out, let's face it. But if I did get 11 and a half grand out and I put that into the S&P on, what was it, the 20th of September, I would be £400 up now, where I'm not £400 up now. I'm probably about £150 up overall. So I have invested in, traditional assets over the years. I've also had the S&P for a few years where I've been reinvesting dividends back in, and I've had premium bonds and just traditional assets. They're so boring. You log onto your plus 500 or your premium bond account or your savings account or your ISA, and you just look at it going, yeah, okay, it's boring. What about it? So all that boring stuff, make sure that's all sorted. Then you get onto the more tangible, exciting side of investing, which is Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering cards, Gundam cards, Lorcana, sealed products, slabs. Over this 10-year journey, it's going to be very interesting to see if I'm going to actually get out more than what I put in. I will be a bit gutted after 10 or 15 years, probably, if I'm truthful to myself. But at the end of the day, this is money which we don't need. So the family's happy for me to speculate on cardboard, because that's what it is. It's speculative. All of this is speculative. You can't have a piece of cardboard and expect it to be as worthful, as tangible, as income protecting as like metals like gold, silver, platinum, rhodium. Because at the end of the day, cardboard's cardboard. It's very fragile. It needs to be kept all snuggy and warm. It needs to not be in the loft where mice can just scrabble through the box and make a nice bed. It needs to be in a warmish place where it's not too hot, it's not too cold, so they start bending. They bend because they've got foil on the front and they've got cardboard on the back, and cardboard absorbs water, so they start bending like that. Then you dry them out, and then you dry them out too much, and they end up bending back this way. There's whole videos on people putting them in a vat of water on top of a cup, and it sort of absorbs the moisture, and then they just go whoop. So they are very, you have to look after them. You have to have them in sleeves, you have to have them in top loaders, you have to have them in binders. Don't put them in like the Fun Conservatory where it goes red hot, or don't leave them in the shed outside. So yeah, that's this week's portfolio update. Next week I'll be buying some more, so I'll do my usual Sunday update of the binder. At the minute, Ozgman, or whatever his name is, the creator of the Bubble Mew, has sent everything else created by him up in price. The Soloses, the Clobberpuss, and much more. It's time that Tamukazu had some love, and if he does, my bags are packed. These aren't actually in the portfolio on the collector app, but I've got loads of his cards. Moving on a Sunday, I'm going to keep the portfolio updates real simple, like I just said, how much I've put in, and just have a look at what the S&P is doing. Just very quickly look at the price. Anyway, moving forward, Mega Evolution should be here this week, if not next week. I've ordered a booster box, and I've ordered a ETB Pokemon Center with God of War on. I did want the Lucario, but I couldn't get it, so I'm bored now. So I'll go. So that's enough rambles from me. I'll see you next week.